Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is episode 46 of High Street Sports. My name is Chris. This is John Ross. We're going to have a little bit of a different show for you guys today. Obviously, football season is over, so we've got a little bit of a different topic for you. This is our first real, in-depth hockey pod that we've done. There's been a few more, Cannon Club pods on High Street Sports, but this is the first, in-depth NHL as a whole pod that we've done here. So, John Ross, what's going on, man? How you doing? Ready to talk some puck?
I'm very excited, good buddy. This one's been a long time coming. I am a massive hockey fan to all our listeners out there. I sometimes think it's my favorite sport. I'm a huge Carolina Hurricanes fan. Go Canes. But yeah, excited to talk about this. Like you said, football may be over. It's sad, but we still have hockey. The NHL, in my opinion, is the greatest playoffs in the four professional sports we have in America, and you can't convince me otherwise at this point. So, yeah, let's talk some puck. I'm really excited.
Let's do it. So I think we're going to talk a little bit of NHL standings, playoff picture as it stands right now, trade deadlines, and then some award watch to close out this episode. So as John Ross said, we've been talking about this one for a while. Big, I think if you guys can't tell, obviously the Ohio State flag behind me in Columbus are the Blue Jackets having a rough season, a bit of a rough go, just, fired GM Jarmo Kekalainen, but hey, it'll come around. So we'll talk about all those things here as we move forward. So why don't you go ahead and jump off with some NHL standings as they sit right now?
Yeah, so the current playoff picture as it sits right now, you got the Metropolitan, the top three teams are the Rangers at 77 points, the Canes at 71, and then the Flyers, surprised this year to a lot of people, including myself, got the Flyers sitting at 67 points. Those are the top three teams in the Metro. Mm-hmm. And then the Atlantic, top three teams, you got the Bruins at 79 points, the Panthers at 78, and the Leafs at 70. Then you got the wild card with the Lightning at 65 points, and the Wings, Detroit Red Wings, sitting there at 64 points. And then in the hunt behind them, you got the Devils and the Isles of the Metro at 60 points, the Caps and the Penguins. Well, yeah, all four of the teams I would consider in the hunt are Metro teams. Color me shocked. Mm-hmm. Caps at 58, the Penguins at 56, and then the rest of the East shakes out. Sabres 54, the Canadians 52 points, Senators 49. Fortunately, Chris's Blue Jackets 46 points at the bottom of the East, but like I said, we'll get her.
Sooner or later. It has to work out one of these days.
Yeah. And then in the Western Conference, you got the Central Division with the Stars leading that at 76 points, the Avalanche behind them at 74, the Jets at 73. So very tight division right there. Honestly, most of the divisions are pretty tight right now. Then you got the Pacific with the Canucks, 80 points, leading the league too in the President's Trophy race. Best team in the league so far this year. What a job Rick Tocchet has done out there in Vancouver. And then you got the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Vegas Golden Knights at 70 points. They've kind of cooled down. They came out of the gate hot, and I think they had 20 points within the second weekend of the season, start the season. Mm-hmm. But they've cooled off a little bit, dealing with some injuries right now. And you've got the Edmonton Oilers and the best player in the world, Connor McDavid, at 68 points. They look dead in the water a couple months ago in the season. Then they went on a 15-16 game heater, and they're right back in the thick of the playoff race. And then the Western wild card, you got the Kings at 66 points and the Blues at 60 points. And then in the hunt in the West, pretty log jam right there behind the Blues. You got the Preds at 60 points as well, the Minnesota Wild at 58, the Kraken and the Flames both at 57. And the rest shakes out the Arizona Coyotes at 50 points, the Ducks at 42, the Sharks at 35, and the Blackhawks with the least points in the league at 33.
And, so kind of on the piggyback of that, as it stands right now in the Eastern Conference, the playoff bracket would sit just like this, starting from the bottom, kind of working our way starting from the top, with the number one seed in the East and working our way to the bottom with the first wild card. So from the Atlantic Division, the number one seed in the East as it stands right now would be the Boston Bruins, and they would face the wild card number 2 Detroit Red Wings. A little bit of a renaissance. Yeah, get a little bit of a renaissance for the Red Wings, who have, kind of been struggling for quite a while. Back squarely in what looks to be a playoff appearance here this year, depending on how things shake out for the rest of the season. And then you move down the Atlantic. Two representatives from the Atlantic Division, the Panthers and Leafs. That could be a pretty interesting playoff series. The Panthers seem to be a pretty loaded team, and the Leafs, obviously with Austin Matthews and his goal scoring ability, could be a pretty intriguing matchup there. Then you move down to two Metro teams in the Canes and the Flyers, as you mentioned, and I agree with you 100%. I think it is a little bit of the John Tortorella effect, and we're kind of seeing that in Philly. So the Flyers being a little bit of a surprise team this season, and looking to face a Canes team who looking to kind of put it all together in the playoffs, to get some of their the secondary scoring to kind of contribute just a little bit more in the goaltending to hold up. And then you go down to the first seed out of the Metro, would be the Rangers, followed by the wild card number 1 Tampa Bay Lightning. So a little bit of a different situation for Tampa Bay. Used to seeing them up high in the standings, but they're hanging around in the wild card. But as it sits right now, that's a pretty intriguing setup there in the Eastern Conference. We'll move down to the Western Conference just real quick before we kind of dive into all of it. From the Pacific Division, the Canucks, as you mentioned, just absolute masterclass to this point in the season, followed by the wild card number 2, the Blues. So that could be an intriguing matchup there. Moving down the Central Division, both representatives here from the Central Division, Avalanche and Jets, being the 2 and 3 seeds respectively there. Down to the Pacific, the 2 and 3 seeds respectively there would be the Golden Knights and Oilers. And then down at the bottom, the number 1 seed from the Central, the Dallas Stars, followed by wild card number 1 Los Angeles Kings. So that's kind of what the playoff bracket looks like as it stands. The odds for the Stanley Cup right now as it sits, the Panthers lead those odds at plus 800, followed by the Avs and Oilers at plus 850. And then you move down to plus 1,000. You have the Stars, Bruins, and Carolina Hurricanes. And then the Rangers at plus 1,100. So that's kind of what the current playoff scenario looks like. I think you could kind of toss up a couple of teams there as far as who the favorites would be to win the Stanley Cup. Obviously we mentioned earlier the Panthers are kind of loaded. The Avs and Oilers seem to be playing pretty good hockey right now. Nathan McKinnon is on an absolute heater in the last month or so of the season with his long point streak. So a lot of intrigue going on in the league. The top half of these divisions are all pretty deep, and even as you mentioned, a lot of good teams still in the wild card hunt. So what are you looking for here as we kind of come down the stretch? How do you feel about what we're seeing right now at the top of the division and even at the bottom? Favorite sleepers, what do you got?
If I had to go favorites right now, I'd definitely go Panthers, Bruins, Avs, Canucks. I'm kind of hesitant to get all. I like the Canucks are a fun team to watch. I'm kind of hesitant to get all on board the Stanley Cup train for them because, we kind of know how. They are only leading the President's Trophy by 1 point right now, but we all kind of see how this always plays out with the surprise darling team of the regular season. They kind of fizzle out in the playoffs. Bruins last year getting major upset in the first round of the Panthers. But yeah, there's a lot of intriguing matchups. Still to be decided in some of these wild card games. I honestly think the divisions are could be pretty set. I don't know how long ago someone pointed it out, but I think I've told you before. A lot of people say usually what the divisions look like after Thanksgiving, it's a very high percentage they stay that way. Not necessarily the exact order, but the 3 teams that are at the top of each division, it kind of stays that way after Thanksgiving, which is crazy because the season starts first week of October, so not a lot of time to establish your. Not a lot of time.
A lot of hockey in between now and then too, which is kind of crazy to think that after all the streaks and things that could happen in that time that it would stay that similar. But yeah, I think you have pointed that out to me before. That's a wild stat.
Yeah, but no, as far as like matchups that we have right now, the ones I'd be most excited about, I said it earlier, Bruins and Detroit,
Hmm.
original six teams matchup. Boston looking to get a little redemption after last year's definitely. I'm sure Bruins fans considered a failed season, record regular season, running away with the President's Trophy, and then losing in 7 to the Panthers in round 1. And Detroit, they've been scratching and clawing the past few years. Steve Weiserman, the wiser plan is starting to come to fruition. It looks like you've got really good players on that team like Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider. They've got Patty Kane now too. He's he's still he's getting up there in age, and he really doesn't give you anything on the defensive end, but he's still an elite playmaker. His nickname's Showtime for a reason. Goaltending kind of hit or miss for them. You got Ville Husso, but and the Bruins, I thought the Bruins would take a step back this year. I thought the same last year, and I was wrong. I'm wrong again this year. I thought losing Patrice Bergeron to retirement would be a big hit to them. There's talk out there that Bergeron could consider coming back. I think that was a month or a month and a half ago. I feel like it's too far gone at this point for him to do that. But I mean, they got Brad Marchand, who's the captain now. They got Pasta. Pasta's one of the league leaders, top 5 in points in the league right now. One of the richest men in hockey too now. They got Charlie McAvoy at defense, Hampus Lindholm. They've got a lot of studs on that team still, and they've got a great coach in Jim Montgomery. So, yeah, I would definitely look forward to a Bruins-Detroit playoff series, and I'm sure the fans and just the NHL world in general would.
Yeah, I mean it's a series full of intrigue, just as you said, and then obviously, as you said too, the Bruins have to have that idea of revenge on the forefront as well, seeing as they won the President's Cup trophy last year, and they just fell flat on their face in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of that sticks around with those players in that locker room, and they're itching to get a shot at it again. And then, I think for me, one of the most intriguing series could be the Carolina Hurricanes and Philadelphia Flyers. You look at the kind of hockey that John Tortorella demands of his teams to play, and that's a hard back check. And it might not be the most flashy offensive showing that you'll get out of a team, but what you're going to get out of Coach Tortorella pretty much every game. And then on the other side, the Canes, man, the Canes, as you know very well, you need guys like Martin Necas to step up and carry some of the load in the playoffs. And there's some trade deadline scenarios and some moves that we could talk about later that could help the Canes out. But the Canes are always an exciting team to watch and always a team to watch in the Eastern Conference. But then again, like I said, with earlier with the Lightning being in a little bit of a different situation, a bit of an underdog role for the Lightning.
I wouldn't want to see them in an underdog role.
Absolutely not. Coming in as a wild card team when we're used to seeing them up near the top of the division and even winning the division and winning Stanley Cups. So you just look as it sits in the Eastern Conference, and there's a lot of intrigue there. And then you move down to the Western Conference, teams that have been there before, maybe in a different light. The Blues obviously have won a Stanley Cup, in the recent history, and the Avalanche as well, and some star power really all around in these playoffs scenarios as it sits right now too. So
I'd really like to see a Knights Oilers series in that one. It'd be a rematch of last year's Western Conference final, Jack Eichel versus Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I'd really like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned earlier the tear that McKinnon has been on, in the last month and a half or so, just taking his game to another level, which seems weird to even think that there is another level to take it to. But
when
one of the more dominant players in the league.
When the Nate Dogg decides that he wants to take over a game, that's bad news for the other team because he is just a freight train coming down the ice. He can dangle. He's got great hands. He's such a powerful skater. He can drive the net whenever he wants. He's got great vision. Yeah, he's a terror out there when that switch flips on. And it doesn't look like it's flipping off. He looked like he flipped it on a while ago, and he hasn't flipped it off. Is his point streak still going?
I'm not sure, but it would not surprise me one bit.
Yeah,
if it is.
It was in the 20s last time I was made aware of it.
Yeah, I mean the dude is unreal, and it seems and from even their Stanley Cup run a few years ago, man, like even it seems like there's a different gear in the playoffs, which everybody gets a different gear in the playoffs. But when you're talking about guys like Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, man, that's a lot of skill on the ice at one time, and makes for a very fun series. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what the playoff picture looks as it sits right now.
There's one team I'd be interested to see what they do at the deadline, because they're sitting right there in the hunt in the East, is the New Jersey Devils. A lot of people thought they were going to move themselves to the front of the Metro this year, and I was one of them too. They went and got Tyler Toffoli in the offseason last year, proven goal scorer, to add with Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, who else? Nico Hischier and Timo Meyer, Dougie Hamilton back there in the defense. I think they need to figure out their goaltending. There's rumors that they're interested in Jacob. We'll get that in a little bit. There's rumors they're interested in Jacob Markstrom with the Flames, and I think that could be a move that could catapult them firmly into the playoff picture. But yeah, the Devils are a team I'd be interested to see what they do at the deadline, whether or not I'm buying them as a playoff team this year, because they have been pretty inconsistent up to this point. So it'll be interesting to see, especially with some of the teams too in the hunt as well. Like you got the Penguins. They're technically in the hunt, but it seems like we're getting close to the end of an era with them, and the Capitals as well. Because I mean, the Penguins, they went out and got Erik Karlsson this offseason. Another older player to pair with Sid, Evgeny Malkin, Jake Gensel, Chris Letang, Gino, and Sid. They're both getting up there. However, I know you don't like him. Dude, Sidney Crosby is – Brad, I think Marchand said it at the All-Star weekend. That someone asked who he thought the best player in the league was. He said Sid. He said, when you think about what he does 200 foot, like, it's valid to call him still. He's so good, dude. Everything he's a great defensive player, so smart. He can still score goals. His vision. I mean, he's a complete package, and I used to really not like him when he was like a little bit younger. I feel like he whined a lot, but I've started to like become a fan as over the past few years. Just watching him play, it's just really, really not cool to be able to watch one of the greatest of all time play. And I hate that. Well, I don't really hate it because fuck the Penguins, but yeah, definitely the end of an era out there. There was a report the other day that Kyle Dubas, new GM for the Penguins, is listening to almost everyone outside of the core four, which I guess you consider Sid, Malkin, Letang, and Gensel. Even though Gensel has been the topic of a lot of trade discussion, we'll get into it a little bit. But yeah, and the Capitals on the other side, they're right there as well. But it seems like it's just a ticking time bomb for them as well. Ovi's getting up there in age. He's got 8 straight goals in 8 games. So definitely interested to see if he can keep going and break Wayne Gretzky's record for goals. I do think he'll do it eventually. Whether he does it with the Caps is a different story. But yeah, both of those are interesting teams. Whether or not they try to go all in one more time at the deadline, I don't think they will, because even if they did, I still think that puts them in the upper echelon in the East or the NHL. But I think both of them could be sellers at the deadline. I'd be interested to see what both of them do.
Yeah, and you mentioned Sid, and obviously being a Blue Jackets fan, Sid has hurt my feelings a lot throughout his time.
He likes playing the Blue Jackets. I know that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people that like playing the Blue Jackets, but we don't have to talk about that right now. But yeah, I mean, Sid is a great player, one of the greatest to ever do it. And then, conversely, Alex Ovechkin is also one of the greatest to ever do it. And, 2 players that seem to be maybe not near the end of their career, but, obviously Ovi more likely to move on from Washington. Don't know how near that is in the future. But, before we move on from the Pens, don't want to give him too many flowers because fuck the Pens. But Jaromir Jagr got his jersey hung in the rafters in Pittsburgh, and what seems to be a long overdue venture there. So congrats to Jaromir Jagr. A great for the Penguins and a great in the NHL, and I think he's still playing somewhere somewhere he's still scoring goals. So pretty cool there.
Oh yeah, he participated. I saw a video. He participated in the team shootout in the practice.
Oh yeah,
the day before the game, and beat Alex Nedeljkovic high with a nasty wrister.
Yeah, well, Jaromir Jagr does Jaromir Jagr things. I don't think that surprises anybody. Yeah, so that's kind of what the playoff picture looks like, and what to look forward to there. Why don't you go ahead and jump us off into the trade deadline rumors and information there regarding some moves that could happen soon?
So I already said the NHL playoffs are the best playoffs out of any of the four major sports in America. I'd go as far as to say the trade deadline is the best trade deadline out of the four major sports too. It's definitely got the most action that happens because, teams load up every year. It doesn't really feel that way in baseball. NBA, I feel like it's kind of fallen off the past few years. NFL, it's kind of hit or miss, but the NHL, I feel like, delivers every year. There's always some big name players available. That being said, there's really no player like a Patrick Kane like last year that was available, Vladimir Tarasenko. Well, I say that, and he's on my list, but a Patty Kane or someone like a Jonathan Taves was last year. But for those who don't know, the trade deadline this year is on Friday, March 8th, and it is at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So got a couple more weeks till that.
2 weeks from tomorrow, I believe.
Yep. But yeah, there's been a couple moves up to this point, two notable moves at least, both for centermen by Canadian teams. On January 31st, the Vancouver Canucks traded some players and a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick. Forgive me, I don't know the players' names off the top of my head, but they traded for Calgary Flames center Elias Lindholm. He was probably going to be the number one. He's probably the number one trade deadline target on a lot of people's boards, including mine. I really was hoping the Canes would make a run at him, have a little reunion there. Just a great two-way center, plays a 200-foot game, can scored 2 power play goals in his first game with the Canucks against the Canes. Just a great move by Vancouver. The rich get richer. Add to that team with Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Brock Besser, Connor Garland, Quinn Hughes. And then the next move, another move for a centerman on a few days later on February 2nd, Sean Monahan, center previously for the Montreal Canadiens, was traded to the Winnipeg Jets for I believe, one player and a first. So good return for Montreal getting a first there for Monty. And he had a hat trick last week too, and his second or third game with the Jets. A great move by the Jets to get some quality center depth there. Monahan, another good 200-foot player, plays a great two-way game. And Winnipeg, like I said, great move for them. They're having a really good season. Looks like they could be loading up, trying to go for a Stanley Cup run. But yeah, those have been the only really two notable moves up to this point. As far as the top players left available, I have a few on here that I put on here just I think they could be available. But these are mostly, you'll see, these are pretty common on all the pundits list. You got the first three I have on my list here are with the Calgary Flames, who they're in the playoff hunt, but it seems like they could be going for a fire sale to kind of rebuild. You got defenseman Noah Hannafin, defenseman Chris Tanev, and then Jacob Markstrom, their goalie, one of the best goalies in the league. He's having a really good season despite the Flames' kind of inconsistent season. Be very interested to see where he goes. Like I said, he's been linked to the Devils, and being a Canes fan, I hope that doesn't happen. Because, like I said, Jacob Markstrom is really, really good. One of the best goalies in the league. Dude has a sick mask game too. If anybody wants to look that up. And then Chris Tanev, great defenseman, solid top four defenseman in my opinion. Noah Hannafin, another solid top four defenseman, former Hurricane. He's definitely came a long way since then. He can get you points too. He can chip in offensively, but just a great defensive player too. And then you got Vladimir Tarasenko with the Senators. Senators are having a very down year compared to what they thought they would have. I was surprised they're having as bad of a year as they are. I thought they could be a team vying for a playoff spot this year, and because they seem to be pesky team the past few years. They got Brady Tkachuk, Claude Giroux, Tim Stützle, Drake Batherson. Sorry, the other names are escaping me right now. But yeah, Tarasenko traded to the Rangers last year at the deadline, and then signed with the Senators this offseason. And now it seems he's going to be on his way out the door again. Be interested to see what teams go for him. Definitely some teams in need of goal scoring help. Hurricanes. Canes actually rumored to have a deal in place with him, and then he switched agents, pulled the rug out from under us, and switched agents in the offseason last summer. But it would like to see the Canes take a run at him. I know he doesn't seem like the kind of player that could play for Rod, but I'd say it to him blue in the face. The Canes need a proven goal scorer if they want to realistically challenge for a Stanley Cup, and Tarasenko can give you that, in my opinion. And we've got guys on the team that can compensate for him defensively. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. And then you got probably the top center left on the market after Monahan and Lindholm. You got Adam Henrique with the Ducks having kind of a career resurgence this year. I think he's got about around 40 to 50 points, I believe, on a really bad Ducks team. Another surprise too. I thought the Ducks could take a step forward this year, but same old in Anaheim, it seems. But yeah, team looking for quality center depth. Adam Henrique's a good player to target. I'd like the Canes to target him too. I feel like he could help us out a lot. But and then I think the biggest target right now, in my opinion, would be Jake Gensel with the Penguins. You and I have talked about this. Gensy's hurt right now. It's said that he will be back shortly after the deadline. Sure teams want to know the extent of that, but it could diminish his trade value a little bit. But I believe the Pens, it's been reported that they want obviously a first-round pick and a better than average prospect or a young NHL player. So definitely they'll get a good haul for him, whether or not they move him. He is a restricted free agent. Actually, no, I think he's unrestricted at the end of this year. So if the Penguins really do go for a fire sale, try to usher in a new era, I do think they will move Gensel. Be interested to see. I'm sure there will be a lot of people vying for his services. Once again, Hurricanes, Don Waddell, if you're listening to this, I know you like the team, but I think we'd like it a little bit more if we had Gensel on the team, huh? Yeah.
What in your mind, before we move on from that, what in your mind would be the best chance, what the best package would be that the Canes could put together to maybe get Jake Gensel?
We definitely have a lot of prospects, and I saw someone tweet this other day. I can't remember. It made a really good point. Like, yeah, we have a really good farm system, and we always draft really well, but there's no room for any of our prospects right now on the team. Mm-hmm. So they just stay and develop. They just stay in the minor leagues, and some of them keep playing well, but some of them just get they get worse. It's just a sad reality. Like, they don't get the chance to go up and play against better competition. And not having an AHL team right now is hurting the Canes because their players are scattered all around on affiliates of other teams who don't care about their development because they're not their prospects. But back to your question, prospects-wise, anyone not named Alexander Nikishin, who I've told you is our Russian death machine in the KHL right now, leads second in the KHL in points, by the way, as a defenseman, 22 years old. Please, God, don't stay in Russia. He's eligible. He's eligible to sign with us next year. But yeah, anyone not named Alexander Nikishin, prospect wise, there's a lot of good prospects. We have Scott Morrow's one, to name one, Vasily Ponomarev. God, I can't say it. He got called up for one game last month in January and had 2 points, goal and an assist, first game. So there's plenty of prospects. I definitely think the Canes, I would part with the first round pick. I do know how Don Waddell operates, though, and he likes guys with term, which I get. But, I mean, if you try to go after Gensel, I definitely think you want to try to work out and have an extension in place before you make the trade. But That's another topic for another day, that kind of archaic way of thinking. I mean, sometimes you have to get a rental. Teams do it all the time and win a Stanley Cup. But, yeah, I think and I've told you even I know Marty Netchus is having been really good since he came back from injury last month, but I just can't. It's burned in my brain, man, how he just disappears in the playoffs. And Jake Gensel's won a Stanley Cup. I know he's had Sid centering him his whole career, but he's proven to be a top-notch NHL player. And I think I could stomach parting with Netchie. It would suck. Like, he's been with us. We drafted him. I'm watching him get better and better every year. But like I said, I could part with Netchie if it meant getting Jake Gensel. But yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, like the Canes desperately, I think if you look at what has kind of failed them in their current playoff runs in the last 3 to 4 years, have been goaltending and secondary scoring. And you can't rely on your Svechnikovs, Aho, Teravainen, and those guys to score every goal in the playoffs. And when you have a guy like Natchez who has shown that he can do things like this in the regular season, and it doesn't necessarily carry over. I had the stats up, the other day, and it was kind of his playoff points, like career points in the playoffs. And it's just, not what you would like to see in translation to what his regular season numbers can be. So, Natchez is a great player, but, you want to see that jump in the playoffs. And if you're getting to a point like right now with the Canes where, you're a couple of years into this run, you need to fortify that and leave that, not to chance rather than to, if you have a chance to go get a guy like Jake Gensel, you kind of have to do it. That'd be an intriguing move for the Canes if they could, find a way to pull that off. And if they could pull it off even without giving up Natchez, that would be a plus too. So
we have the prospects. Like we have the prospects to make trades. We need to utilize it before their value diminishes.
Yep. Same with the Blue Jackets, honestly.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, Jake Gensel's top prize for me this trade deadline if he actually does become available. And then just go down the rest of the list. Scott Lawton, forward for the Flyers, veteran player. I'd be interested to see him and Sean Walker are on here for me. Sean Walker's a D-man for the Flyers. I'd be interested. I don't think the Flyers are going to move anybody. I think they're pretty set in the fact that they're going to make a run at the playoffs. Torts has got that team motivated. He's got them playing hard for him. They honestly remind me of the Canes in 2019 when they got back to the playoffs for the first time in 10 years and upset the defending Stanley Cup champs, the Caps, in the first round and went all the way to ECF. But yeah, Torts, he plays a hard style. It's not pretty, but damn it, it works. But when we've talked about it, this is definitely the Torts effect. It happened in Columbus. It just, unfortunately, I mean, my opinion on it is, and kind of getting sidetracked here, my opinion on it is, it's nice right now, but I do think Torts does kind of wear out his welcome some places. His style of play kind of gets old, and players
it's not for everybody.
Yeah. But I mean,
especially for the new era of flashy player too. Like you're going to have to work your ass off on the defensive end.
Like Trevor Zegras couldn't play for Torts.
Oh God, no! And there's a reason why Pierre-Luc
Marty Natchez couldn't play for Torts.
Yeah, and there's a reason why Pierre-Luc Dubois and some other guys kind of got worn out on it, and PLD's track record kind of speaks for itself, kind of wearing out his welcome a little bit in Los Angeles, but it is what it is. He is a bum.
Sorry,
I agree.
No one.
Blue Jackets dodged the bullet on that one.
No one has a good word to say about him anywhere. Nope. Every team he's been on.
Nope.
Yeah, actually, speaking of the Blue Jackets, a couple I had on here. Boone Jenner, center. I think the Jackets, it would suck Blue Jackets losing their captain, but I do think they could get a good return for him. Team looking for quality center depth. Boone's a good two-way player. He can score. He can score when when called upon. He's big dude. He can park it in front of the net. Take the goalie's eyes away. And then Elvis Merzlikins, goalie for the Blue Jackets. I know he said, kind of in a roundabout way, said he wanted to be traded. But
yeah. I think I read earlier that.
Sorry, I got distracted.
It's okay.
I think I read earlier on in the background.
Yeah, I think I read earlier that the Blue Jackets have said that Boone Jenner is untouchable to this point. But I think, to your point, they could get, a big return on Boone if they struck, on the right deal. You would hate to see a captain get dealt. But, kind of in the Blue Jacket situation, it is what it is. You need to do whatever you can to be ready to compete. At this point in the Jackets rebuild, I think everybody is kind of tired, and on Blue Jackets Twitter, everybody's tired of seeing they're close, they're close,
Yeah.
they're close. Well, we don't want to see close anymore. I think that has kind of worn its welcome out. We've got a young core here of really talented players, Kent Johnson, Adam Fantilli, and all the others
Johnny
that are
Ham
there.
and Cheese.
Johnny Hammond. Well, he's not exactly a young guy anymore, but
He's
he's a good veteran. And even when you look at a guy like Patrick Laine, could they trade Patty, a guy that since he's gotten to Columbus has been snake bitten by injuries, and there's been a lot of people that have said a lot of things about Patrick Laine, but he's dealt with a tough personal life here in the last probably
is he still
6
away
months
from
or
the
so.
team?
He is dealing with the recent loss of his dad. Has hit him a lot harder than I think a lot of people have realized. And
Yeah, fuck all the people who are giving him shit for that too.
It's unbelievable. The douchebags on whatever the fuck Blue Jackets pod that was that made that awful comment about him can kick rocks. Patty's a great person, first and foremost. This goes way beyond hockey. Patty's a great person, great guy in the locker room, great guy in Columbus. He re-signed with the Blue Jackets when he could have gone elsewhere because he believes in what they've got going. Johnny Gaudreau believes in what the Blue Jackets have going, and I have some other opinions on the Blue Jackets front office. Thank you, Jarmo Kekalainen, for your 11 years, and him and Torts kind of turned the Blue Jackets around into a different attitude. But now it's time for John Davidson, as we're looking for a GM to kind of step up into the trade deadline and really work his magic if there's any to work. But could Patrick?
Sorry. I definitely think the Jackets should have kind of a mini fire sale. Like, I do think. Obviously, Fantilli's nailed to the ground. Kent Johnson, in my opinion, he needs to be let loose. He's like, you watch his highlights from Michigan, and he's an unreal player when given space. Yeah. Johnny, he signed to that massive contract, and he's 2 years removed from having over 100 points. He ain't going anywhere. I do think, obviously, it may not happen this in like the trade deadline, but I do think I think you look at possibly moving Zach Werenski. I think he's very snake bitten with injuries right now. Doesn't seem like he's what he used to be. I think you can get a good return for him though if he's fully healthy. I do think the Jackets need to embrace kind of like the youth movement and start selling off some of the veterans. And you're not going to be able to get rid of Severson. That's $6 million AAV is kind of scary for some teams, but.
The two names that I've seen, big time, obviously along with Elvis Merzlikins. I know there was some talk that Elvis wasn't going to get dealt at the deadline, but now I think, with Jarmo out and John Davidson, the president of the team, kind of managing what's going on right now until they find a GM, I think you could see Elvis Merzlikins get moved. But the two names to watch out for, in my opinion, for the Blue Jackets to get moved would be Jack Roslovic, hometown Columbus kid, just kind of hasn't worked out with Jack in Columbus. A lot of effort questions, I would say, in his time in Columbus. And then Ivan Provorov.
It seems like 1 minute he's on, 1 minute he's off.
Yeah, he's a guy that I think could be but I think he has top six potential, but it's, getting that effort out of him every night is the issue. And then Ivan Provorov is another name to kind of lean into that youth movement. The Blue Jackets drafted Denton Mateychuk with the number 5 pick a few years ago, who is just tearing it up right now. So, you think about two names that could be moved from the Blue Jackets, and those are the two that kind of jump off the page, along with Elvis Merzlikins.
You could definitely get a good return for Provy. I think he's a solid defenseman. I know he's more offensively inclined than defensively, but he's no slouch defensively. So I think you get a good return from him. But yeah, I just think the Jackets. Yeah. You and I have talked about it for a long time. I think they need to embrace the youth movement. They have a good prospect pool.
Let the kids play.
Yeah, let them learn.
Let them play, because that's the only. I mean, if what you feel like you have in the fold with the picks that you've made, the prospects that you have, in the core group of what seems to be kind of nailed down for the Blue Jackets, you have to let them. You have to let the kids play. You've got to let Ken Johnson go play.
They've got good pieces.
Yeah, and you've got to let Fantilli go play, and you've got to let Some of those other young guys play, and Alex Texier has to pick up his weight. Just a lot of guys on the roster need to kind of step their game up. But it starts on the defensive end. Got to shore up the defensive end, which they thought they did in the offseason. But Provorov hasn't really kind of turned out the way
I think that's where it starts for the Jackets. That seems to be like – seems like they blow a lot of leads. I don't watch them as much as you do, but the past few years that's been kind of Achilles. And so they can obviously score, but I think the focus really needs to be defense, and that's where I think you kind of look at maybe starting like clean slating it. Obviously, I don't think you'll be able to. I don't think you want to move Goodbranson. I mean, I know people don't like his AAV figure, but he's a solid veteran back there. He'll throw the mitts when it's time. He stands up for his team.
He's kind of earned his spot on the Blue Jackets as far as what his role is. I think he's worth every bit of that $4 million AAV that he's got.
I remember you even said give him the C if they do move on from Boone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think for the Jackets, and sorry guys, this is turned into a Jackets pod. Not sorry, but
for the last 5 minutes, we can move on.
It's good. I do think, just last thing on them, I do think they need to fully turn their attention to because they've got good pieces at forward. I think they need to turn their attention to the defense and kind of shore that up, and then go from there. Get the goaltending sorted out too. I know Elvis hasn't panned out like a lot of people thought he would, but like I said, you've got good pieces. Kent Johnson, Fantilli is going to be real. That dude is so good. He's going to be a good 200-foot player. Johnny, like I said, over 100 points 2 seasons ago. Hockey is still Johnny Hockey. You put the pieces around him, and you'll start to see it again. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yep.
But yeah, finishing up our list of trade deadline targets, in my opinion, Anthony Duclair for the Sharks. Sharks are one of the worst teams in the league. The Duke, he can score goals. Not really great on the defensive side, but the dude can score goals. He had a good run there with the Panthers for a little bit. You got Nick Dowd, center for the Caps, their 4th line center. Nick Dowd's been with the Caps for as long as I can remember. I believe he's I believe he's their alternate captain. Dowder's a solid 2-way player. He gritty. He can play with piss and vinegar. Be a good veteran presence for some team out there needing that. Like Shorzy said, veteran presence. The gems, beauties. Shout out Jared Kiso. And then one he hasn't been made available. The Blues are in a playoff spot, but Pavel Buchnevich, it's someone I put on here. Another player, great forward player, tough, great 2-way player, can score when he can score. I think he'd be a good pickup for any team if the Blues do decide to sell him off. Marc-Andre Fleury is another name I have on here.
Saw that name as well.
Yeah, one of the best goalies of all time. The Wild are in the hunt for a playoff spot, but I don't think Flower is established anymore as their number 1 goalie. I think it's kind of flip-flop between him and Gustafson, I think his name is. Sorry, Mini fans, please don't kill me if you.
It could get wild in the comments.
Yeah, Chris's favorite team. You don't like them, do you?
I just didn't like Kevin Fiala.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, and then be interested to see if Flower team in need of some goalie help. I know the Canes have been linked to him, but going back to the Canes, I know people are saying we need goalie help, but I'm kind of fine where we're at. Freddie's about to come back from his little medical issue, the blood clot issue he was dealing with. Then we're going to have 4 goalies. So if someone needs a goalie, come calling. Speaking of the Canes, another trade candidate on here is Tony DeAngelo. Canes signed him in the offseason. I wasn't on board with the move. I didn't think he was necessary with what we already had on defense. And he's played, I think, a total of 3 games in 2024 because of injuries. Solid puck-moving defenseman, good on the offensive end. That's about it. That's about where it starts and ends with Tony D, though. He's not good on the defensive end. His effort is lacking a lot of the time. So, but hey, team needs some offense on their blue line. Canes, Canes will definitely make him available. And Jason Zucker, veteran player for the Coyotes, could definitely score goals. Not what he used to be as far in that department, but solid veteran pickup for any team needing some secondary scoring help on the wings. Frank Vetrano for the Ducks is another guy who I'd put high up there. Frankie V, man, I don't know how many. I think he has close to 30, at least 30 goals, or close to 30 goals this year. He had a hattie against the Canes when I was watching him play the Duck show this year. Frankie V can fucking score, man. Vetrano is a solid two-way player. The Ducks stink. They're not going anywhere. So I'm sure they try if they would listen to offers on him, and I'm sure they could fetch a good return for him too. So yeah, Frank Vetrano is another guy I'd put high up there on my target list if I were a GM, but I'm not.
So here we are.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of my list of trade deadline targets. We'll definitely talk about that more. We'll probably most definitely have a post trade deadline pod, talk about the moves that were made, where the kind of leaves the standings, if anyone kind of shot themselves into Stanley Cup favorite status. But yeah, definitely something to watch out from High Street Sports in the future.
Absolutely. And, I think a lot of those names that you mentioned earlier on are names that I had on my list as well. So, yeah, I think that just about wraps up the trade deadline talk that we had here. And we'll move into the closing segment here on this NHL pod, talking about some award, not really mid-season. I think we're past the mid-season point, but, right around
about 2 months left.
Yeah, right around 2 months left in the season. So we'll talk about some award favorites here. So obviously we'll start off with the Hart Award. I think we have touched on all of these players at some point in this pod that I have here in the top 4 as far as the odds go for the awards right now. So starting with the Hart Award, you've got 4 studs here. Nathan MacKinnon of the Avs at plus 185. Nikita Kucherov of the Lightning at plus 270. Austin Matthews of the Maple Leafs at plus 280. And Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers at plus 340. So, you look at all 4 of those guys and exactly what we've talked about earlier, tons of skill, tons of goal scoring, tons of playmaking ability. I would venture to guess that these are probably the top 4, if not 4 of the best goal scorers in the league. Guys that can go out and get you one basically whenever you need it on the power play, full strength, whatever. So, I think if it had to be my choice right now, I'd throw Nathan MacKinnon in there. I just don't really see. I mean, he is by far the favorite on this list. But I think in my opinion, with his point streak that he's had, kind of the dominance that he's shown in the last month and a half, I think Nathan MacKinnon would be my choice for the Hart Award at this moment in time. What say you?
I'm going to piggyback on that and agree with you. I think the dog is definitely the front runner for me. That point streak, I wish I knew if he was still on it. Stands to reason he probably still is. But no, he's just playing at another level this year, which is, like you said, scary. The fact that he could take it to another level. Nikita Kucherov right there behind him. He's having a great year as well. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he's just a great playmaker. It's nothing new. The dude's vision is off the charts out there on the ice. So it wouldn't surprise me if he won it. I'd say McKinnon's definitely my favorite right now. But I think I'd say I'm gonna go with MacKinnon right now, but Connor McDavid is lurking back there, and that's not someone I'd want to see in my rear view. He's got 85 points to McKinnon's 92 right now, and he just had the game the other night. He had 6 apples. Like that's the dude. Like you've heard me say it multiple times. Connor McDavid is the best player at his individual sport than any other sport. Like whoever you want to call the best at basketball, whoever you want to call the best at football, baseball, Connor McDavid is the best best player at his individual sport. The dude is his speed, his vision, he can play a two-way game. Just his handles, man. He can stick out on a phone booth. It's insane, and everyone on his team benefits for him. So I root for him just because he's one of the greatest of all time already, in my opinion. I want him to get. I'd like to see him get that cup, that first cup. But yeah, Connor McDavid is someone obviously you have to watch in that race. He's right there in the rear view. Yeah, and then Austin Matthews. He's got the goals. He's got 51 goals. It's just insane. With close to 2 months left in the season, I'd also throw David Pastrnak in there. Pasta's
I was looking at that one too.
Top 5 in the league in points. He's an amazing goal scorer too, great playmaker. Another guy I had written down just because I think he's having an incredible year is Quinn Hughes, defenseman for the Canucks. He's definitely – we'll get into this a little bit about the Norris, but he's definitely the runaway Norris Trophy winner in my opinion. He doesn't have the points that these other guys do. It's kind of hard to justify that. But I just thought I'd throw him in there because he's having an unreal season for a defenseman. But yeah,
we always love a defenseman getting their flowers in the Hart Award Trophy watch list. There, not many of them do. So yeah, got to throw his name in there.
Yeah, I'll go with you. I definitely say McKinnon.
Yeah, I think there's just, but you make a good point, man. Connor McDavid, like it's unbelievable how easy he makes the game look. And we all know hockey's not an easy sport. So yeah, it's unbelievable how easy he makes the game look, and he floats. I mean, it's unbelievable. Everything he does just looks like he floats.
He's I've watched the dude take on 4 guys at one time and score. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Moving on, the next award I have here on my list is the Vezina Trophy. We've kind of talked about some of that earlier, but I will show basically the only 4 that really have a puncher's chance in this award as far as odds go right now. Connor Hellebuck of the Jets at -200, Thatcher Demko of the Canucks at +360, Aiden Hill of the Vegas Golden Knights at +1,000, and Jeremy Swayman of the Bruins at +1,600. So those are kind of, you've got Sergei Bobrovsky at +2,000, and you also have Jacob Markstrom at +2,200. So you've got some outside chances. Ilya Sorokin is at +2,500, but the 4 that I mentioned are Sorokin at +2,500 and Shesterkin at +3,000. There's a couple of players at +3,000. So Cam Talbot and Linus Ullmark also at +3,000. So, but I would think that it's down between Hellebuck and Demko, in my opinion. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hellebuck. Definitely, I think he's my pick right now. He was already one of the best goalies in the league, and he was a topic of a lot of trade discussion last offseason when it wasn't sure the direction the Jets were going to go in. Then they gave him and Mark Scheifele those 2 extensions, and Jets are firmly in a playoff spot this year. They've been one of the surprises this year, one of the better teams in the league. And yeah, Hellebuck's got 26 wins, .925 save percentage. Demko's got 30 wins, but he is 918% save percentage. So yeah, I definitely give it to Hellebuck right now if I had to pick.
And then the other one that I have here, and we can talk about, you have the Norris. I don't have the Norris odds written down. Actually, you know what? I have it right here. Let's just go ahead and talk about that one real quick. Okay. For the Norris, the top 2, really, I think there's really only 2 choices here, but there's some outside chance odds here behind them. Quinn Hughes at -230 and Cale Makar at +250, and then Evan Bouchard +1,500. So those really are the only 3 that kind of jump off that and have really any chances to win. But the only 2 are Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. You mentioned something earlier about Quinn Hughes. Go ahead.
Yeah, Quinn Hughes is the runaway favorite right now to me. I don't see him losing this. He's got 12 goals, 57 assists, 69 points. Nice. And then Cale Makar, we know about Cale Makar. He's one of the best defensemen in the league, one of the best players in the league. He won the Norris a couple of years ago. He's got 60 points, 13 goals, 47 assists. But yeah, unless Quinn Hughes just falls off the face of the earth, I don't see him losing this award. Just great development on his part. He was very much only an offensive guy when he first started, but he's rounded out his game. Still got that offensive game. It's even better now, but he's kind of got the defensive game too. And like, Jesus, does Mama Hughes have any more than Hughes brothers?
I don't think so, but it would be
You got
pretty spectacular.
Quinn, Jack, and then Luke, right? But like with the Devils now,
All
Luke Hughes.
studs.
Yeah.
All absolute animals.
Did they all go to Michigan?
They may have. I don't know. I don't keep up with them.
I knew Luke Hughes did. I was just asking.
Yeah.
I'd imagine they all did. But yeah, then behind them, long shots to win. Noah Dobson for the Isles. He's having a really good season. It's not surprising to see a defenseman for the Isles be up there in the Norris contention. 7 goals, 51 assists. Victor Hedman seems like a mainstay up here in these rankings. 54 points, 9 goals, 45 assists. And then Evan Bouchard, young guy, really starting to come into his own with the Oilers. 53 points, 14 goals, 39 assists. If he keeps getting better, that's scary thinking about a puck-moving defenseman like that paired with McDavid. But yeah, like I said, it's Quinn Hughes' award to lose right now.
And moving on to another award that is probably, for all intents and purposes, wrapped up. We do have the Calder Trophy that goes to the league's best rookie. I think the leader in this one is that Connor Bedard guy. Ever heard of him?
Bedard.
Minus 500 there. Really one of the only good things about the Blackhawks. But I want to, while we're talking about it though, shout out to former Captain Columbus, Nick Foligno. Really a guy that I think has been the perfect enforcer / tough guy to pair with Connor Bedard. I think the Blackhawks, if they've made any good moves other than drafting Connor Bedard in the last year or two, signing Nick Foligno to be that, mentor type role for Connor Bedard has been huge. So hats off to the Blackhawks there. But then you've got Bedard at minus 500, you've got Brock Faber at plus 400, and then you've got Luke Hughes at plus 1800. Marco Rossi is there.
Is not ranked in there?
No, he's been hurt. He's just he
hasn't
played in a while. He is down at, you could take him at plus 7,500. So just unfortunate the way that Fantilli's gotten hurt and kind of dealt with some stuff the last month and a half, 2 months. So
it's Bedard's to lose. And the kid is as advertised. Canes played the Hawks the other night, and I was watching. He's very fun to watch. Definitely look eager to see when he gets some better players around him, what kind of steps he can take. But he looks like he has it all already. Playmaking, he'll definitely have to grow into his body a little bit. He is a smaller guy, so interested to see his development. But it's Bedard's to run away with in the Calder race.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's all I have. Do you have anything else that you want to add to this conversation before we get out of here?
We got the Art Ross. Obviously, that's the points leader. So that's kind of, you got top 5 right now. Oh, it's all good. I got you, bro.
Oh boy,
I got you, dude. So the Art Ross is awarded to the points leader at the end of every regular season. You got 1 through 5. You got Nikita Kucherov with 94 points, Nathan McKinnon 92 points, Connor McDavid 85 points, Pasta 82 points, and Austin Matthews 75 points. I would not be surprised. This is another one, Connor McDavid. I feel like he's won it. How many years? I feel like he's
a lot.
Won it the past 2 or 3 years in a row. Had 150 something last year.
Dude's a robot.
Yeah, but I'm gonna pick McDavid in that one. I do think McDavid will end up getting the edge in total points.
Connor McDavid has won the Art Ross Trophy 5 times since 2017.
Wow.
He's an animal. Yeah. Absolute animal.
Yeah, and then next award, the Rocket Richard Award for the leader in goals in this year. Not much needs to be said about this one. Austin Matthews has 51 goals. The dude just went on a streak of, I think, 8 goals in 4 games. 2 straight hatties. It's unreal, man. Like the dude, and I'm so glad he's an American. He's going to be wearing this red, white, and blue next year in the Four Nations Cup and in 2026 at the Winter Olympics. USA, baby. We're coming.
Let's go.
We're about to be better at another sport. The than everybody else. We'll talk about that another day. We're coming for you, Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, 51 goals for Poppy. Then you got Sam Reinhart at 39 goals. Really good year for the Florida Panthers forward right there. Going to probably get a good-sized contract from Florida after this year. Nikita Kucherov, 36 goals. Pasta, 36 goals. And Zach Hyman, 34 goals. Yeah, but yeah. Matthews is on pace for 75 goals right now, which I don't know if that would be the most single season all time. I'm going to have to look at that real quick.
Yeah, I was about to look that up too. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of unbelievable what he's been able to do. And, as you mentioned, 50 goals with a little, around 2 months left.
It would not be. It would actually be. It would actually put him in 7th or 8th place.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, it's fun to watch.
Wayne Gretzky is number 1 and 2 with 92 and 87 goals. 92 goals is insane, man.
Well, Wayne Gretzky was insane.
Like the man, I think he had like 200. His most points totals in a year was like 220 something. That's insane. Like I know the game's a lot different now, but that is crazy.
It's nuts. I mean, yeah. He's the greatest.
Shout out to Wayno, the GOAT.
Greatest.
But yeah, no one's catching Matthews in that one. And then last award before we get out of here, Jack Adams for the top coach. I think this one is a runaway too. You could make the arguments for Torts. I think he has a really good argument, but I think Rick Tocchet, Vancouver, left the analyst desk to go back to coaching. Tock has just been great in Vancouver. They lead the league in points right now. They've got studs all over the ice, and they got Elias Lindholm, so it looks like they're loading up for a Stanley Cup run this year. And Vancouver's a great fan base. That barn is electric when they're good. So it'll be exciting to watch how they finish out the season. But yeah, give me Tock to win the Jack Adams this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would think I would tend to agree with you there, but I would love to see Torts, obviously from his time in Columbus, a fan favorite, I think, in Columbus.
He cares a whole lot.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. The only thing he cares about is the chance to win a Stanley Cup, which he has surprisingly turned the Flyers around and has put them in a position to at least have a shot to win a Stanley Cup. But there's a lot going on in the NHL. It's going to heat up in the next 2 weeks until we get to the trade deadline. And then from then on until the playoff picture wraps up and we find ourselves in the middle of another NHL playoffs. So, a lot of fun things happening on the ice. If you're new to hockey and haven't watched it or kind of don't really know where to start, just turn it on. ESPN Plus has done a really good job. Yeah, ESPN Plus has done. That's a really good job into it of giving people access to hockey and making it easier to watch. Unless, of course, you are in your home market, and then you have to deal with Bally Sports. But that is even going to change next season, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But anyways, hockey is getting fun. It's been fun season for most of us here, not so much the Blue Jackets, but brighter days are ahead.
If you are a hockey fan too, we want to know what you want to hear. Let us know in the comments what you want us to talk about, puck related. We both love talking about hockey. I don't care what the topic is, what the team is. I'll talk about them. I love me some hockey, man. It's fun. Like Chris said, if you never watched it, never gotten into it, I highly suggest you do. It's a great fun sport to watch. Seems like it's growing a lot more too. So we definitely want to help contribute to that. So yeah, turn it on, watch the puck, man. It's a great time.
You heard the man. Turn it on, catch a game, any game really, and you'll get hooked the same way that we did. It's a very fun sport. We appreciate you guys stopping by. We are only 8 away from 100 subs on High Street Sports, so we're getting there slowly but surely. If you're new here,
away.
We're Alex Ovi away from 100 subs. If you're new here and this is your first time listening to us, we appreciate you coming by. This was our first shot at a real in-depth NHL hockey pod. So we will be back for more of these as the season, kind of keeps going. So we're excited to do that, as well as other off-season things here on High Street Sports. So we appreciate you guys stopping by. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment, and let us know what you think of our, trade deadline banter. What do you think is going to happen? Who's your favorite for the NHL playoffs and to win the Stanley Cup? And yeah. Just let us know what you think, man. We appreciate you guys stopping by. As always, for John Ross, my name is Chris. We will see you next time on High Street Sports.
Thanks, guys.